Hi, I'm Jeff Lovelace, Assistant Professor at the University of Virginia's McIntire School of Commerce. I'm excited to share a little bit about the paper I co-authored with Professor Don Hambrick from Penn State University for the January 2018 issue of Academy of Management Review entitled The Role of Executive Symbolism in Advancing New Strategic Themes in Organizations, a Social Influence Perspective. The idea of doing a paper on how leaders, specifically upper echelon leaders, use symbolism really came into focus for us when I was a TA for Professor Hambrick's Executive MBA class on Strategy, Implementation, and Change. One of the topics we talked about in the course was the use of symbols by executives. We were struck by how much the topic really resonated with students in the class. The students all had examples of successful and failed uses of symbols by their own leadership. And it was obvious from that discussion that it brought up memories of strong affective responses from the students about those experiences. In addition, we realized that many of the examples that students brought up were tied to key initiatives or strategies that the organizations were trying to implement. Our own personal experiences echoed the responses that we saw from students. As an Army officer for many years, I saw the use of symbols as a deeply ingrained part of the culture of that organization. In particular, the symbolic actions of leaders carried tremendous amounts of meaning for those in the organization. As Professor Hambrick and I discussed the topic and explored the literature, we realized a few things. First, the idea of leaders using symbolic actions had been generally introduced in the sense-making and change literatures. Joya and others had discussed the importance of the basic idea of symbolic actions by leaders. However, we came to the conclusion that the idea had been written about in general, but we didn't know much about how, when, or to what end leaders might utilize these symbolic actions. Additionally, when it was discussed in the literature, it was almost always done so in a positive light. And we could not help but wonder, given our own experiences and what we heard from our students, if symbols always worked as they were intended, or if there were times that executives' use of symbols might actually fall flat in their organizations. We came to the conclusion that there was an opportunity to make a contribution in this domain, and as such we aimed to outline a theory that furthered the understanding of when and how executive symbolic actions are effective. First, in setting up our theory, we explained the idea that executives have what we call symbolic significance, or that actions contain meaning beyond their inherent essence. We introduced the concept of theme-aligned symbols, which we define as an action or behavior taken with the intention of sending a message in support of some new strategic theme. In doing so, we pulled from a variety of literatures to highlight a variety of examples of theme-aligned symbolic actions that executives may enact. Our major contribution is the framework that we introduce, which predicts when executive symbolic actions will elicit certain affective responses from members within their own organization. And ultimately, this will impact the advancement of the new strategic theme that they're trying to implement. Notice that in our model, we, 1, leverage the social influence literature to identify the impact of specific attributes of the symbolic action. 2, we identify the importance of the executive's general reputation as well as their specific reputation as it relates to the strategic theme that they are trying to implement. And number 3, we highlight that the member's own predispositions towards the theme can help predict the member's affective responses to the executive's use of symbols. Last, we explain that no matter how artful the executive's use of symbols, they will be ineffective in eliciting a positive reaction from members of the organization who are predisposed to be antagonistic towards the new theme. For this subgroup, we introduced the idea of theme-muting symbols, which we define as a symbolic action intended to minimize the prominence or implications of the new strategic theme. We believe this paper has wide-ranging implications in both science and practice. For example, we discuss a variety of benefits and risks of executives utilizing symbolic actions. Our effort provides an initial framework for executives to more deliberately approach their use of these actions. In research, we see tremendous opportunity in the empirical validation of our framework, in the exploration of the interactive effects of the different action attributes we outline in the model, and in the greater investigation of member predispositions towards certain strategic themes. This paper was a lot of fun to work on. In particular, we really enjoyed identifying the real-world examples to incorporate into the paper, and it generated a great deal of discussion between myself and Professor Hambrick. We really hope you enjoy reading the paper and that you find the topic as interesting as we do. Thanks very much.